What's up YouTube, it's Matthew here, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about if it makes sense to wholesale in 2022. I'm going to talk about the housing market and the different factors affecting wholesaling real estate in today's market. And does the 2022 real estate market actually even affect wholesaling? Will it be better for wholesalers or will it be more difficult for wholesalers in 2022? All right, you all, before we go on, be sure to like this video, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on today's market, the market of real estate in 2022 with everything going on. What are you all's opinion on the real estate market? I would love to know down below. Do you all have fears? Do you find it easier, more difficult? Are you making more money? Are you finding more progress? How are your interactions with sellers? What are your sellers telling you about real estate market as a whole? Because we know sellers love to talk and be like, oh, my house is worth this much or that much, or the market this, the market that. So what are they telling you all personally? All right, so number one, I want to talk about the low inventory levels. So as you all know, inventory levels are low. Essentially, inventory levels are the number of houses available for sale. It's pretty low compared to normal range. And is it low because of the pandemic and people just started buying houses? Now we just have a low inventory and the demand is still super high. Like, is the demand actually high? Which it is, because people are bidding, one property, you all. I went $50,000 over asking price and I lost out on that deal. But it ended up getting sold for $45,000 over asking price, but most likely that was a cash offer, no appraisal, no inspection. And I was $50,000 over. I was going to use a loan. And on top of that, I'm not gonna waive no appraisal or inspection or anything like that. It's a bidding war out there. So yeah, for sure, it's super competitive and everything like that. But how does low inventory levels affect wholesaling real estate? So number one, does it make it harder to get deals? One of the reasons why inventory levels are low is because people are not wanting to sell their house right now. They have a low interest rate. They are working from home. They're not traveling as much. And even if they sell their property, what other property could they buy in their price range, right? Let's say they have a $200,000 house that they bought 3 years ago and it's worth $300,000. Yeah, that's a really big increase in the past 3 years. But when you stop and think about it, where can they go, right? Where can this seller go and still get the type of house they want at $300,000? And why would they want to do that? Just buy a house for $300,000, right? And get a whole new loan, right? When they bought a house for $200,000 3 years ago. Part of the reason for them selling a house is because they want to retain some of the equity that was won off of a property. So a lot of sellers are not as motivated to sell at the moment because they know that there's not a lot of competing houses like the houses they own. And so as a wholesaler, you may not get as much of a response from sellers as you did maybe 3 years ago, because yeah, they could probably still find a house in their price range and still keep some of the profit from the sale of their house or other things like that. So that's something to consider when you come across sellers. What are their reasonings for not selling? Even if it seems like they're in the right situation to sell. Maybe there needs to be some updates on the property. Maybe they do need to move for whatever reason, but try to drill into that and figure out why in today's market they are not more motivated to sell. So the next thing I want to talk about how the 2022 real estate market affects real estate investing and wholesaling is with the interest rates rising at the current moment. So right now, interest rates are well above 5%. So how does that affect homeowners? So obviously it affects sellers who you're targeting, where they most likely have a rate much lower than 5%, probably in the 4s, maybe in 3s. And for them to buy another house, they would have to get a higher monthly payment, and they don't want that. Another thing with higher interest rates are for cash buyers. I was reading on some real estate groups that some people were saying, hey, I'm just kind of holding my cash a little bit until interest rates go low, because right now burring a property doesn't make sense. So burring is BRRRR, which means buy a property, renovate it, rent it out, refinance, and then repeat the process. But during that one step of refinancing a property, interest rates are now well above 5%, as opposed maybe they bought this property in the beginning of the year year and interest rates were like just at 3%. Now it's the summer and their rehab is almost done and they have to rent out this property, but interest rates have almost doubled on them. And so will they still meet their criteria, their cash flow and everything off of this one particular property? And so that's something to consider. Cash buyers may not take a risk at something because of the interest rates, other things like that. The other way that interest rates can possibly help wholesalers in wholesaling are pre-foreclosures. So let's say a seller unfortunately is in pre-foreclosure. Sometimes they would be able to refinance their property, right? Refinance the loan and get a lower interest rate. Right now, since interest rates are higher than normal over the past 10, 15 years, that homeowner cannot refinance because most likely their refinance will be at a higher rate than what it's currently at. And so that's where you can step in and help them through the process of finding an apartment to rent out or finding another house to live in and providing that service to them so you can have them not go into foreclosures and then affect their credit, and you can sell that house to a cash buyer, or you can do something with it, keep it as a rental property, fix it up, whatever you may do. The other thing with higher interest rates are hedge funds are buying more properties. Hedge funds, a lot of times, a lot of their assets are held in bonds. And so since bond rates are higher right now, they are making more off of their money. And so they can use that money and deploy it in buying houses for cash. That's why you see an uptick of hedge fund buyers buying properties around the area. Now, it's not to the point where like super negatively affecting the nation as a whole. Maybe in certain cities, in certain areas, yeah. But at the moment, I think hedge fund buyers only account for like less than 10% of home buying within the past year or two. But that's something to consider because now hedge funds are buying more and you can sell your deals more effectively to them and at a higher price. All right, so the third way the 2022 real estate market may affect wholesaling is higher prices, right? So we talked about low inventory, higher interest. Now we're talking about higher prices, right? Home values are up. And so when you approach a seller, you have to put that into your offer. You have to make a market adjustment, right? Like a lot of car dealerships do, or even custom home builders do, right? You have to make that market adjustment because you have to understand like their property value has increased, right? And you have to calculate that into your offer. So understanding that is key. So this helps you not only get a property at a price where the seller finds it fair and that they can find another place to move on to, but also you'll be able to sell it at a premium over to a hedge fund buyer or a cash buyer, or even back on the retail for a higher price because the higher prices are there. Overall, you all, what do you all think of 2022 real estate market? Is it good for everyone as a whole, or does it kind of only benefit like us investors and not like normal people? What are your thoughts on all of this? Is there some way that a little guy can still win in this market, even as a beginner real estate investor, or just someone who works 9 to 5 and has a family and trying to find a place to live? I would love to hear you all's thoughts down below in the comments. All right, you all, hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll talk to you all later.